Hi guys, welcome to the second part of the video where I'm talking about securing Spring Boot microservices with Keycloak. In the first part, we saw the Keycloak configuration. If you don't see it yet, go and check it. You find the link in description. Also, you find the link to GitHub repositories of the source code we'll see in the second part. So let's start. In this tutorial, we have client and two microservices products and providers. We will use Postman as client. So first thing we do, we call Keycloak to request a token for user using the OpenID Connect protocol. We get the token from Keycloak, then we call product microservice to get the products list. Then we call a second endpoint to get product details that needs to call the provider's microservice for the provider details. And here we need to pass the token to be authorized. We will see how to do this. And next I will show you how to create the microservices and how to implement security. Go to Spring Initializer website. We're gonna create the two microservices. Let's start by the products one. We're gonna give it a group ID comp1demo for the artifact products. We need the web starter dependency, security, and OpenFeni to communicate with provider's microservice. Now is good. I will add DevTools dependency just for development. Okay, so generate. Good. Now let's keep the group ID and change the artifact to providers. Here I don't need OpenFeni dependency, so keep just these three starters and generate. Good. By the product microservice, go to the POM XML. We will disable the security starter. Then go to application properties and set a port for this project. It will be 8081. Then I will create a package for our models. So let's call it models. Then create a model class for product. It will be simple. It will contain just ID name and provider ID. Now I will create a new package for controllers. Let's call it controllers package. I will create a class for product controller. Then I will use the REST controller annotation for Spring Boot and also the request mapping to set a root URI for this project. So slash products. Then I will add some products, for example. So import all needed classes. there is a problem. I need to create a provider class. Let's create just an empty. We will see this later. So good. Now let's create a function to get all products. Okay, so return products. Then I need to add the get mapping annotation. Good. Now let's start the project. Run as SpringBoot application. Then I will go to Postman. So I will wait until it finishes. Okay, and here we see the list of products. Go to the provider's microservice. We're gonna do the same thing. Disable the security starter. Then set the port to 8082. Next, go and create a new package for models. We'll create the provider model. It will contain just ID and name. Okay, then we'll create the package controllers. Okay, let's create the provider controller. Okay, add the REST controller annotation, and the same thing, we will add the request mapping slash providers. Okay, we'll add some providers. Then we create a function that return a provider details. So here I use just stream API to get the first element with the given ID. Good. Run the application as SpringBoot app. So server is started now. Go to Postman and test it. Now let's return to products microservice. Here we need to add a web service that returns a product with its provider details. So first go and fill the provider class. Then we'll create a proxy package. Proxies. Add an interface for the provider proxy. Here we will use the Feni client to consume the provider's web services. So we use the Feni client annotation. Here we need just the URL, so go and add it in application properties. It's the URL of provider's microservice, so localhost 8082. Good. Now we need to add the function to get details. So everything is good. Go to product controller and inject this proxy. So private provider proxy. Okay, now add the function to get the product details. Here I use the stream API to get the product. Then I call the provider's web service to get the provider details by its ID. So run the project, and in Postman we can see the result here. So we have our product with ID 1 and with its provider details. Now our web services are working. Let's start implementing security. So first thing is to implement the security starter. Okay, we need to add the Keycloak adapter. So go to Keycloak documentation, securing application and services, and search for SpringBoot adapter. Okay, so I need this dependency. Good. Then I need to add this dependency to Dependency Management. Okay, here you should check the version. It is the Keycloak version. We can see it in the Keycloak admin console. Admin server info. Okay, now I think we're done with the POM. Okay, let's go back to Keycloak documentation and see what we need to do else. So here we don't need to create a Keycloak JSON. We will use just the properties in our application properties. Okay, so go to application properties and add this. So here we have the Keycloak server URL. We have our realm test. The client ID is a demo app, and I set this property to true to mention that we are using just better web services. Okay, save. Okay, then I will create a configuration for this security. We can see this in documentation, not here, but we need to configure Spring Security. Spring Security. Okay, so what we need this to create a Keycloak configuration. So I start with creating a new package for our config. Then I create the Keycloak configuration class. Okay, so here I need to add the annotation Keycloak configuration. Okay, so then we need to override this methods. I will explain later. Okay, good. So as we can see here, for Spring Security, when using role-based authentication, requires that role name start with the role underscore. So to avoid this problem, I will use a simple authority mapper. Then for the strategy, because we are using just API web services, so I will use just null authenticated session strategy. I forgot to extend from the Keycloak security configurer adapter. Okay, then for configuration, we have two endpoints. We have products, which will be for user role, and products / ID, which will be for the admin role. And for the other requests, need the user to be authenticated. Let's go back to check if we missed something. So go to the security adapter. Okay, here for the Spring Boot integration, we need to add this bean. If you want to use the Spring Boot properties instead of the Keycloak JSON file. Okay. The problem here is this class is a configuration, so it is a bean. So if I let my adapter like this, it will not be started because we have already a bean for this. So what I need to do is just import it. Okay, import. So import the Keycloak Spring Boot config resolver. Now we are done. Save. So let's start the application. Now go to Postman to test. So here we can see we are not authorized to do this request. So now we need to generate a token using the user that we created in the first video. So we need to use auth2 protocol. I will get new access token. So we will choose the password credential for grant type. Then we need the access token URL. The user is the test user and password is user. Client ID is demo app. Then request a token. So here you can see So our Keycloak server is working and it returns the access token. Use this token for request and send again. So it is working. Here we can see the list of products. Good. So next I did the same thing with the provider's microservice. I secure it also. So what I change is just in POM XML I add the Keycloak starters and security starters. I create the Keycloak config. Here I have just one endpoint with the provider. Then I add the properties for the Keycloak server. So with Postman we can see here that we have unauthorized response. Let's test the product details endpoint. I will test it with the admin account. Okay, send request. Here I have the 500 status, and this is because unauthorized request for the get details of provider proxy. So what we will do next is propagate token through get details proxy, so we can pass it to provider's microservice. So to solve this problem we will use Feni client configuration, which allow us to set an interceptor for every proxy that use this configuration. So let's start creating a client configuration. Then we create a request interceptor bean. So here we can set the authorization header. It will be a bearer token. So we're gonna see how to get this token, but before this let's add the bean annotation. Also I need to set the prototype scope. We use the prototype scope, so each time Spring call the get bean method or inject it, it will create a new instance. So let's add this configuration to our provider proxy. done. So now, like I said before, we need to get the token. How we do that? I check the Keycloak REST template class. So here in the Keycloak REST template, I search how they get the token. I found it here in the Keycloak client request factory. There is it. So I will copy paste this method. So what this method do, simply it is getting the authentication object from Spring Security context holder. So then I will use it to create the context. So take a look. Then in the context object, I will find the string of token string. Okay, everything is done, and now we will test. So I get a token for the admin user, send the request, and now everything is good. We can see that we have our product details with the provider details also. So guys, I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love to hear your thoughts. If you have any question or suggestions, please share it with me in comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Bye.